What a glorious day! The Prince of all Saiyans has finally gotten the W against not the main bad, but like a bad. So, I mean, I guess it's not as bad, but kind of badass if you think about it. Welcome, everybody, to our Dragon Ball Daima episode 12 review titled True Strength. And today, all the Jeet stands, which I'm more of a Jeet stan than I am, and anything else. I know that Major Rage has a love for the Jeets as well. We were really what's one of the not like anxious about this episode because we were wondering how Jeets was going to come out in this episode, and I have to say I'm very impressed at how they handled Jeets. I think finally Toriyama realized that there is and maybe this was like a editor's choice to have Jeets kind of go over here, but I think Toriyama always has never really had particular love for Vegeta. He's always the kind of the hype man for Goku mostly. And I think finally they're like, no, we're going to give him a W here. So this episode was very good for the Vegeta stands out there. And anyway, Mage, how are you doing, man? What'd you think of this episode overall?
Man, I loved this episode. It was great. It wasn't what I was expecting from what I saw of the next episode preview. I don't know what was up with that little clip of Goku as the Super Saiyan fighting the Tamagami, but I'm glad we didn't see that and we got Vegeta getting the W instead.
I think that they were just trolling us. I really do. They knew we would be watching, and they were just, they were just trolling us pretty much at that point. Yeah, I'm very glad. I mean, I heard from other sources that we would be getting Vegeta Super Saiyan 3, and I have issues with that, but I'm not going like they're not breaking like my love of what's going on here, but there's still like issues with that. And maybe they'll resolve those issues by the end of the show. But still, very good fight in this episode, as well as we still got that duality going on of Majin Ku? Yeah, Majin Do taking on Tamagami 1. And that's actually very interesting at how that plays out as well. So let's just jump right into it. I mean, so we've got Vegeta having to go back and forth, against Tamagami 2 and the Kraken, which we saw at the end of last week's episode. Vegeta's kind of having to fight off getting eaten. Which, if this was old school Vegeta, he would just vaporize the Kraken. Like, he would just vaporize. Like, when the Kraken got him in his mouth, he would have, instead of just kind of like blowing himself out, like, I feel like he just would have vaporized the Kraken and been like, yeah, like, okay, you're out of my way now. But no, this is post Boo Vegeta, which is grown quite a bit, and so it's really funny how they portrayed Vegeta in this episode, like he was on the back foot the whole time, but by the end of the episode, you kind of realize he was in control the whole time. So I don't know. I mean, like, I don't know. I don't know. What are your thoughts on, like, the first kind of like, the kind of rebound of Vegeta in the beginning of this episode?
Well, I thought it was really, I thought it was a little cheap of the Tamagami to be taking advantage of this interference in the fight. But, it's an environmental hazard, I guess. The Kraken, all bets are off when it comes to protecting that Dragon Ball, I suppose. And that's Tamagami's mind.
That's kind of how I saw it as well. It was more like, he's not a Saiyan. Like, he's not like, all's, or he's not like, oh, it's not fair if it's not one. Like, Tamagami's like, look, if you lose because the Kraken's trying to get you, I don't know what to tell you. Sorry, like, not my problem. So I don't think the Tamagami was really like trying to use the Kraken against him. It just happened, as you said, an environmental hazard. Like, it just happened to be there. So, but yeah, so I mean, protect the Dragon Balls, and even, I mean, you can tell like that's what this is protecting the Dragon Balls. What did you think of Neva powering up
Oh, when he juiced the Tamagami, I'm like, oh, no way. No
Yeah.
way. Is Jesus either going to be really mad or really excited? And he didn't really have a reaction either way other than just handling it.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, he really did. He handled it all right. But yeah, I mean, so great fight, great imagery. Over on the Majin Doo side of things, I mean, we've got Tamagami 1 versus Majin Doo, and Majin Doo's he finally starts using that malforming body. I know that he kind of did the turtle thing before, but like he never really showed like that Majin Buu ability to like contort his body until this episode, I don't think, right? I mean, or did I miss
Right.
something? So so he's finally showing that. So that's why I'm like, okay, this is actually more Majin Buu than I thought, because Majin Ku, as far as we can tell, cannot do that because he's based off a Cyberman, with the Cyberman egg or seed. So but then he just kind of stops in the middle of the fight and says, I want chocolate. And I'm like, okay, so this is your typical Toriyama gag where, yeah, he's going to be focused on food. And we know that the Majin Dooku and Boo are all very durable. Like you can beat the living crap out of them. It's not the fact that they're powerful, even though they are, but it's not a matter of like resilient. Well, no, it is a matter of resilience. It's a matter of like their durability. You know what I mean? Like, so
Yeah.
even though, and I know I'm going to trigger some stands here, but even though, I feel like that's why they've always said Majin Buu was the most dangerous, because he's just so goddamn durable that you could literally almost vaporize him and he can always come back, almost like Cell, but even more. But I would never say that necessarily he seemed more powerful than like Super Saiyan 3 Goku, or just even Goku said, like, Goku's like, I'm running out of juice, and this guy keeps going. He even says it in several points, and so I think that's what's going on here, is that Majin Doo just kind of wears out Tamagami 1, where Tamagami 1 just finally runs out of juice and he's just like, I'm done.
I wonder if they use an infinite energy engine like the androids do, or what powers the Tamagamis.
I don't think so, because
No,
I mean,
that's a
I feel like
Jiro
Tamagami
thing.
1 got worn out, like, I mean, well, but I guess the androids did take damage. So, because the androids did take damage, but yeah, you're right. Their power levels never really, or not their power levels, their power source didn't really go down. I mean, in Dragon Ball Superhero, Gohan was fighting the Gamma 1, I believe. He was fighting Gamma 1, and after all that time of them fighting, he said, my reserves are down to 86% or something like that. So I feel like there's definitely a difference there between like what the Tamagamis are using as a power source rather than the Majins are using as a power source. Obviously, Majin Doo's is chocolate. That's his power source.
Oh yeah, because what happens after he gets that chocolate in him? It's no joke.
It is. I mean, he blasts the crap out of Tamagami 1. And I believe isn't that he gives up at that point, right? Isn't that?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think after that big blast, after he gets the chocolate, that's when he gives up. So, much to everybody's surprise, I mean, Arinsu and Majin Ku were like, dude. Did you expect Majin Doo to beat Tamagami 1, or did you expect like there to have to be some kind of like fusion between Ku and Doo, or like some other shenanigans? Like, or some kind of power up or something?
I honestly was expecting a fusion between the two. I thought that Doo wouldn't be able to, have the power to finish off the Tamagami, but I was wrong in that prediction.
Yeah, that's I was thinking too. I was thinking they would have to do something else in order to get Tamagami 1 to beat Tamagami 1, but apparently they're using Tamagami 1 to put over Majin Doo, and So that's probably what's going to escalate things, because now that all the Dragon Balls are now in play, and we'll talk a little bit more about that in a second, but now that all the Dragon Balls are in play, now we've got, and technically Urinsu has quasi possession of all of them, but I don't know if they're going to be able. I don't know if Glorio is going to be able to get those two balls away from, the Z fighters to get them to Urinsu, but we'll see. This feels very Namek Saga at this point. Everybody's, like, I think it's going to be very Namek Saga at this point, where it's like everybody's got Dragon Balls, which is really weird because it just seems like the Demon King Goma, like he's kind of just like a spectator in this whole thing. You know what I mean? Like I don't know where I know that it's all going to kind of come together here towards the end, probably in the last like 4 or 5 episodes maybe, but I just don't understand. Like, I'm trying to figure out what the dynamic they're going for with this, because apparently this is only 20 episodes so far, is what they're saying. Like, that's what I've heard. So so what were your thoughts on, since we're on Majin Buu, what were your thoughts on the final challenge of Tamagami 1, where they basically just had to do the math, and basically Majin Buu is the Sheldon of the group. Apparently he can just download all that information, I guess. I don't know
how he kept up. I do not know. At first I'm like, okay, this isn't bad, and started getting into the triple digits. I'm like, oh, I can't keep up. And
yeah, I thought that, like, the shell game was kind of fun, because it's like, okay, it's a matter of
visual acuity, which has to do with fighting and martial arts, being able to track your opponent's movements. But this seemed like an impossible challenge. It seemed like a rigged game, and like it was there just for the gag of Majin Buu being able to do it, when Majin Buu is pretty much useless as a fighter.
Yeah, and that's the impression I got, is that, wow, this is supposed to be Majin Buu's one moment here. You know what I mean? Like, this is his time.
And he got zero recognition.
Yeah, he did. But yeah, I don't know. I didn't think that this one was that great. That game, that final challenge was that great, but I mean, it was what it was. So Urinsu and the Majin Buu and Ku, they have the 1-star ball now. So here we go. We as I said, game's afoot. Now we're 1-1. So we go back to Vegeta and the Tamagami 2, and that fight's going on. So we got a little bit of the water fight and stuff like that. They're kind of fighting under the water. Tamagami 2's been juiced. He's just laying waste to Vegeta at that point. What is I'm trying to remember what point he went. Was it right when when he was underwater? He went Super Saiyan 3, right? So what were your thoughts? Like, I kind of figured at that point he was going Super Saiyan 3, I believe, at that point, or right around there. What are your thoughts on the Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta thing? Do you feel like that this is just a, hey fans, here you go, finally you're getting your vindication that it can happen, he just doesn't do it? Or do you think it's...
I'll let you finish. Go ahead.
My thing is like, I really feel like that's what this is. I really feel like that this is it narratively, it kind of doesn't fit for me. You know what I mean? Like, it's awesome. Don't get me wrong. That's what I'm saying. Like, it's awesome. It is hilarious. Like, it is a great moment where Vegeta stands get vindicated that, yes, Vegeta can go Super Saiyan 3. But it also feels pandering a little bit to the Vegeta stands, where it's like, yeah, see, look, he can go Super Saiyan 3. It's like, narratively, it's almost like, why though? Like, I guess because he couldn't beat the Tamagami 2, so he had to go beyond. But again, it was almost kind of like picking on Tamagami 2 once he went Super Saiyan 3. So again, I don't know. You go with your thoughts. I'm rambling.
I have mixed feelings about it. I feel like it was very much a pandering moment, but it was a pandering moment that got me excited and hyped nonetheless. Like you said, it was one-sided fight once he transformed. It was to the point of feeling like he was picking on the Tamagami. You're right. I mean, just broke its weapon with no force whatsoever. Just deflecting with the finger reminded me of Goku showing off to Trunks when we first see Trunks.
Mm-hmm. I'm trying to remember. He had his arms folded for a long time. Did he ever use? I think he did use his hands at one point, but still, like he basically just kept his arms folded and just kind of was only using his legs. And I'm like, man, it felt a bit pandering, and that's where I get caught up on this whole thing, where I'm like, I almost would have rather, like, as I said, it's always been assumed in the Dragon Ball community that Vegeta could go Super Saiyan 3. He just didn't, because he saw the drawbacks of it. Like, because even Goku says in the Buu Saga, the drawbacks of Super Saiyan 3. I could see if maybe they, in this episode, if they put it in a point where they're like, I went to, like, even if he would have said, I went Super Saiyan 3 because I knew I couldn't overpower him, but I knew if I could get that much more powerful than him for just a moment, like, the time that, the short time that it would take to beat him, if I could overpower him at that, then I could, I could make this work. You know what I mean? Like, he it's kind of like it's a very smart Vegeta move, because it's just like in the manga for Super Saiyan God and Super Saiyan Blue. Vegeta figured out the way. Let's be clear. If you watch the anime only, you don't know this, but in the manga, Vegeta's the one who figured out he goes Super Saiyan Blue, or I'm sorry, he's Super Saiyan God, but then he, at the moment of impact, he goes Super Saiyan Blue to use that extra force, and then he goes back to God, because he can manage the stamina better in God form, and then he just does that blue form for just a second to really, like, accentuate the hit that he's going for, and he just goes back and forth between them, because if you stay straight in blue at that point in the manga, it's a drain on your stamina. And that's what they've always said about Super Saiyan 3, is that it's a drain on your stamina. And he's even Goku said, the only reason why I can do this really is because I'm dead. Like, right? Like, I mean, in the Buu Saga, he said, I can't really keep this up very long. And he used up most of the rest of his 24 hours using Super Saiyan 3 when he was trying to distract Majin Buu, Fat Buu. So I don't know. I feel like Vegeta's a smarter fighter. And that's why I'm kind of like, maybe if he would have said, well, I knew I needed to overpower him and I knew I needed to make it quick. But it's just like, he just did it. And it's just like, yeah, I did it. I'm awesome. And that's where I'm like, a little bit more context would have maybe helped me in this whole thing. I know I'm rambling. I'm sorry, but I'm just like, and I love the fact that they did it. They did the thing. That I'm glad they did the thing, but at the same time, I'm like, anyway, it stopped me from talking.
No, I agree with you. We need some piece of dialogue to, for him to acknowledge the limitations of it, and that give us an explanation of why we really never see him use it down the line.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that's even if Goku said it, like, Vegeta's prideful. Like, I don't expect him to just come out and be like, oh, I don't use it because, but like, because even Goku said, wow, I didn't know you could do that, like, and then maybe Goku says something to him later, and then Vegeta says it, or even Goku says, he's like, it makes a lot of sense why you don't use that form, because of the stamina drain, blah, 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 like, there needs to be some kind of smart context around it, not like, look, Super Saiyan 3, Vegeta, you got it, you win, you got it. Again, I am never pleased with anything. I'm always I'm always a petulant child. So okay, so I ramble aside. Unless you got anything else you want to bring up about Super Saiyan 3 Vegeta. I mean, again, I'm glad it happened. I'm glad we got it. I'll be fine. I'll just go cry in my pillow a little bit more. Of joy, crying of joy. Okay, so we have the final challenge for Tamagami number 2, and it is a picture problem, I guess. Like the something about biscuits and getting stolen, and how many
Yeah, the word
biscuits.
problem.
Yeah, like a word picture problem. I'm like, okay. And I knew Vegeta, like, I honestly expected like the Majin Buu thing, where it's like Goku, because he loves food. And I mean, I know all Saiyans love food, but like, I like Goku sitting in the background with his fingers. I'm like, oh, this is the moment where Goku's going to overshine Vegeta. Like, this is and they didn't do it. They let Vegeta answer the problem because he's like, no, it's a snake. It doesn't eat biscuits. Like, what are you talking about? And I was like, all right, I kind of like it. It was another stupid kind of, it was a very Toriyama gag, in my opinion. A lot of these final challenges are Toriyama gags, which have their place. So yeah. So what did you think about the final challenge and all that, and how that panned out?
I felt really dumb when I got it wrong. I'm sitting here like, oh, it's 5. And it's like, no, the name that he asked is the name of the snake, not the person with the biscuits that ate the first third of their biscuits in the beginning. So I felt really dumb. And I couldn't get a word problem for a kid. Right.
I didn't even follow. Halfway through, I'm like, okay, wait a minute, I'm done. I'm just like, I thought about going back and watching it again before he gave the answer, and I'm like, nah, I'm just gonna let this play out. As I said, I didn't care enough about the gag to like. I wanted to see how it would panned out. I didn't care about getting it right. You know what I mean? Like, I was like, okay. And I figured, as I said, I was under the impression that Goku was going to figure it out anyway, because he loves food and he's sitting back there counting with his fingers.
Nice Goku impersonation.
Right? Like, so, and that's the episode. They get the 2-star ball and they head out, and they're heading to the first demon world. So I don't know what overall, like, now that we've kind of broke it down a bit, what, anything I missed, anything?
No, I mean, not a ton of stuff happened. The things that happened were eventful, and they're really driving the plot forward. Liking where we're at, with less feeling like it's filler.
Yeah, definitely. God, there were a couple episodes there that felt like filler. But have you watched the preview for the next episode before I say anything?
Yes.
Okay. I feel like next week is going to be a filler episode. I really do. I don't know if they're going to, which actually is a little disappointing, because it seems like in the next episode they're going to be in the first demon world, possibly. It's a little disappointing because I'm like, we got the Namekian dump, and that's good, but it's like I was kind of hoping to hear more about the Glind actually while we were here. But that's where this show is not exactly working for me, where it's like there's a lot of tell, not show, because they basically have told us everything about the Glind, but I was kind of hoping for some show, about the Glind and everything like that. But I feel like that's why they did all that telling, is because they're not going to show us. Now, maybe I'm wrong. Maybe they're still in the second demon world. They're just in another part next week. But I really feel like we're moving to the first demon realm next week, and we're kind of skipping over the whole Glind thing. And I'm kind of like a little upset about that. I'm like, I kind of want to see Shin interact with like whatever Glind are left in the demon world and the trees and all that other stuff. And that would have been a good filler episode for me. The next filler episode just kind of looks like shenanigans. And I could be wrong. We get a 5-second clip of stuff going on next episode, and I'm kind of like, meh. So I don't know. Any thoughts on next episode?
Wait and see attitude about it, but
that's not what we do here.
Possibly
we make all our assumptions ahead of time.
I'm gonna hate it. I just know it.
Me too.
I'll walk into it knowing I'm gonna hate it, and
Yeah,
confirmation bias will take hold.
that's right, baby. That's what we do. Confirmation bias. So, anyway, that kind of wraps it up. You want to mark it?
Sure.
All right.
I'm gonna give this episode an 8 because of Vegeta getting a win, Vegeta going Super Saiyan 3, even though that's kind of problematic pandering. It was still really cool to see. So I'm going to give him a pass and give it an 8.
I agree, an 8. As I said, I'm more impressed with Vegeta getting the actual W, not needing any assistance. Like we saw on the preview last week, there was a scene in there where Goku was fighting the Tamagami, right? Like you mentioned it earlier, and I'm like, yeah, I remember seeing that. So, I mean, maybe they threw that in there to throw us off, which, okay, I'm fine with that. Like, I am actually a fan of trailers, like like the Avengers trailers when they kind of like threw like these wacky scenes in there that never actually were in the film, where it throws everyone and their speculation off. I'm okay with that. You know what I mean? I am glad to be pleasantly surprised by something. But so yeah, so I am also going to give it an 8. Vegeta Super Saiyan 3, they did the thing. It was cool. It looks cool. What do you think? Actually, really quick, what do you think about his hair? Because obviously he didn't get like the long hair. It just kind of spiked out further and maybe a little bit down, but like it wasn't like Goku Super Saiyan 3.
Makes sense because Vegeta's hair is shown to be a little shorter. So if it had grown to Goku levels, it would be like, well, his hair grows more when he goes Super Saiyan 3 just to match the Goku design. Why is that?
And I think it's good that they vary on. Do you think it's maybe because he's a kid rather than an adult? Do you think if Goku goes 3, his will kind of be shorter too?
That's a good question. I don't know. Maybe.
We'll have to see if Goku goes Super Saiyan 3. So, anyway, with all that being said, everybody, thank you very much. Great episode this week. Glad you guys could be here. If you liked the episode, leave it down below in the comments. If you hated this episode, leave it in the comments down below. If you hated this review, leave a comment down below. And don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to NerdTube, the greatest YouTube channel you kind of maybe sort of heard of. We'll catch you guys in the next one. Bye-bye.